We are the champions of the world.
Wow. Freddie Mercury spinning in his grave.
We'll keep on dancing until the end. Boka, boka, boka.
Let's go.
Played 4.
That was
is
beautiful.
a wonderful. 4 finals, 6 semi-finals, 8 quarterfinals in 8 events, 4 golds, 2 bronzes to the Northern Hemisphere. That's a World Cup winning team. That's a team that knows how to win, and they know how to win in the biggest moments. I've read a lot of people saying, somehow we poxed it. Quarterfinal a point, semi-final a point, final a point. You win it by a point. That's it. These guys will go down in history as the greatest South African rugby team in the modern era. The greatest Springbok team, back-to-back World Cups and a British and Irish Lions series at home. And the only rugby team comparable to them will be the mighty Richie Macau's 2011-2015 All Blacks that went back-to-back as well. My goodness, what a game that would be.
Thanks for that, mate. I actually PVR'd it. I was going to watch it this afternoon, hoping not to know the result. But now I know we are world champions.
Now give us a roll.
Oh, matey.
The people have to be so excited now. The Springbok fans, all of you. Orally, we won the World Cup again. Yes.
You know what? Got this wonderful nanny Tandiswa and his son Levi. He's 11. He's a soccer man that's been converted to rugby. They phoned me on video call from Delft, where they live. The streets were going off. Ollie and Jules, my 2 oldest kids, they were at Van Hunks in Cliff Street. they sent me the video as that last scrum went in, and wow, just amazing scenes. And to every New Zealander out there, mate, it could be us sitting here today saying,
Spot on.
how did Wayne Barnes award a penalty in that last scrum? Free kick, a fuff for not putting the ball in. Wow, what a kick from Geordie Barrett to win it. That's how fine this game was when it comes down to 1 kick and 1 minute. So absolute respect out there to have played 60 minutes with 14 players. It was 40 minutes in total of the game, 14 players without your captain, and he's a flanker. I mean, he's the guy that made 20 plus tackles against Ireland. Just absolute respect for what those All Blacks did, given how they started the World Cup, how they came through it, their win against Ireland, the way they played against Argentina. To have taken us, as Siya Kolisi said, into dark places, they took us to the gutter, and they nearly came out tops. And I think anyone who has a remote understanding of the game of rugby union will just think this was just an incredible heavyweight contest between the 2 greatest rugby nations that have ever played the game. And I'm just thankful in this instance that we came out on top and we got the 1 point, because you spoke about it, Zels, in our preview. Just this team has that little bit more history than this current All Black team, and this was the kind of closure of a 6-year cycle for Rassie Erasmus, Jacques Nienaber and Siya Kolisi. And it just somehow seemed right that Siya Kolisi will have his picture twice next to Richie McCaw. And not quite right that Sam Cane and Yem Fozzie would have been up there, given what they've been through over the last 3 years.
Yeah, agreed 100%. Incredible. I mean, you remember where you were for the 95 World Cup final, 2007 World Cup final, 2019. Incredible that Rassie took that team from 2019, got through the debacle of the 2020 season, beat the British and Irish Lions, ups and downs that we spoke about, gets to this World Cup, loses arguably the best hooker in the world before it. The key player at fly half, who he said he was going to play at the next 3 World Cups 10 years ago, he's unavailable. Best outside centre in the world, unavailable.
One of his best locks, unavailable.
One of his best locks, unavailable, absolutely. Picks a guy out of nowhere to start at fly half, backs him, even though doesn't necessarily fit the traditional Bok mold. The Boks fly again, makes a big change at fullback.
Plays the World Cup final with a 37-year-old flanker as his starting hooker after 3 minutes.
Correct.
Incredible adversity that this team went through. I know New Zealand had the adversity through Sam Cane.
Yes.
Being red carded, but we lost Bongi. And I kind of think that set the tempo. I mean, everyone spoke in the match before, and we spoke about discipline. But more so than discipline was accuracy. And in these big games, it's how accurate are you? And Shannon Frizzell was sloppy. He was clumsy. And the Eagle Eyes at the bunker system got him.
Yeah.
And that was the end. So, Ardie Savea was, the tackle by Siya Kolisi and Ardie Savea, slightly sloppy. Jason Colby, he rolled the dice. He thought if this pass goes out, it could be a try. And he'll take this yellow card if he has to and hope that we can defend for 8 minutes, which we did, where we controlled one thing, which was the territory. Because the All Blacks have now scored 1 try in 2 finals against us. They're the only team in 4 finals to have scored a try, and it was debatable whether that pass went forward or not. Okay? But so many small things to be spoken about.
Yeah.
The match officiating again. I hate mismatch numbers in a rugby game. We've spoken for how many years about 15 must play 15 and punish the player, but don't punish the team. And we marvel at the All Blacks' bravery. But from 3 minutes into a World Cup final, you 15 on 14, it's already a big ask for anyone, especially when you're playing a team of South Africa's pedigree, and they are the defending champions.
Yeah, look, it's a point it's so obvious it's beyond even debate. Terrible for rugby. If somebody had spent hundreds of thousands of rands to get to France for that final and have to have both captains be off the field for a part of the game, just ridiculous. No other sport would do that for something that is as asinine as some of those tackles were. Some of those hits did not warrant people being sent off the field. We've spoken about how the whole safety hysteria has been exaggerated, and I think rugby really needs to take a good look and a stock take and revisit this, because, like you say, at face value, you just cannot have people be off the field and have a mismatch contest. It destroys the whole thing.
But just listening to the game from my couch, I thought there was an echo the whole time. It was the TMO talking to Wayne Barnes about every single
real
thing.
ref.
The real ref, yeah. And calling him back for certain things. And, someone made the point, and again, it wasn't sour grapes from New Zealand, when Barnes awarded South Africa penalising Ardie Savea, and he looked up on the screen and he said, I actually got it wrong.
Yeah.
Andre Pollard still kicked the 3 points.
Correct.
Then I overturn your decision. When he awarded New Zealand the try, and there wasn't a knock-on at the line-out, that's not the TM's role to come in and say it. It's one of those errors that happen in rugby. So if you can overturn that, you can overturn your wrong decision before the kick has made the kick to say, I actually got this wrong. There was no penalty.
I see it the completely opposite from the other end of the spectrum. For me, that's how rugby should be. So if you leave it in control of the guy who's controlling the TV screen to show replays to convince the referee to change his calls, that's very grey water again. I like the fact that he realised he got his call wrong, but he made his call and he's sticking with his call. And I think that it all comes out in the wash. In rugby, they scored a try and then called it back for a knock-on and then went and scored it again. And so if they'd missed the second one and let the first one go, it would have been the same result.
I get that. Like, it balances out.
Yeah.
However, when there's different application throughout the 80
That's
minutes,
exactly right.
That inconsistency.
That's exactly right.
So it's
Agreed.
When do you go back for me but not for him?
We adjudicate some parts of the game to 100%, the rest 35%.
Why are you penalising me but you're coaching him?
Correct, mate.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I looked at all the reaction. I spent the best part of the last 36 hours reading how the New Zealanders saw the game, how the South African media saw the game, on social media, the Northern Hemisphere. And it's just amazing how bitter some of the Northern Hemisphere media are. I mean, I know that they've won 1 out of 10. I know that Southern Hemisphere dominates. It's South Africa, New Zealand. We have 7 between us. Throw in the 2 from Australia when they were at their peak in the late 90s. But if you can't accept that this was a clash of the Titans, it was a heavyweight clash, it was never going to be 35-32 Barbarians against an English 15 in front of 40,000 at Twickenham. Attack. The best attacking nation by definition in their DNA against the best defensive nation. I always say in footballing terms, New Zealand are the Brazil, we are the Germany, and they both have fundamentally strong approaches, contrasting styles. And because we play like Germany, doesn't make it bad. Because we play like South Africa, doesn't make it bad. Because New Zealand plays like the All Blacks, doesn't make it bad. Those are the contrasting styles you want in a game. And invariably in any sport, a great defense beats a great attack, especially when you're looking at the quality of a team like the Springboks. And those All Blacks tried everything, even though they only had 14. Our rush defense was so good. It was so disciplined for the biggest part. The way we scrambled, they just couldn't get that last pass away. They couldn't get any momentum near the fringes to kind of grow their game. Our defense, I think we had a 91% completion success rate, was absolutely magnificent. So defense, calm heads, and a bloke who doesn't miss off the kicking tee. It's really quite a simple game.
Mate, it is
when
very
you get
simple.
it right.
It is very, very simple, and these oaks love to pick it apart. The reality is, in the Northern Hemisphere, if you want to be a rugby writer, you have to be very good at moaning about brave losses. That is your business. That's what you do most of the time, because when you come up against Southern Hemisphere teams, generally you lose. So that's why they're very good at this part of the game. Should they feel sad that their team lost? Absolutely, but have a bit of perspective. Fantastic that at the World Cup, the All Blacks scored 47 tries. 49. We scored 27. We won the World Cup. In the final, they made 200 passes. We made 200 tackles. We won. That's rugby. What you do without the ball is more important than what you do with the ball in some ways.
And there seems to be this thing that I read somewhere, someone said they're the best team who doesn't play rugby. We do play rugby, because rugby is not played just with a ball. So that tactical nous, that tactical appreciation, that understanding field position, understanding what you want them to do with the ball is as fundamentally important to a game plan approach as having the ball.
Absolutely. It's odd to me that the Oaks invented cricket, which is, Test cricket is basically about blocking a ball. It's odd to me that they can't appreciate defense.
And I mean, the defense, the only time they did appreciate defense and a 10 could kick was Johnny Wilkinson in 2003. Then they were happy with one try apiece. A bloke who kicked everything and finally got it right in the 100th minute. But enough of them. Let's talk about us. Siya Kolisi, Peter Steph du Toit, Dwayne Vermeulen, Andre Pollard, Cheslin Colby, Kurtley Orense, that cover tackle on Rico Ione, Dion Fourie, what he did. Francie Malherbe, does the world not see what that guy does? How is that guy not in the Dream 15?
I think that guy made almost 20 tackles, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Dion Fourie combined for almost 40 tackles in that match.
How's Frans Malherbe not acknowledged, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, for what he does?
Well, that's the amazing thing, is we won back-to-back World Cups with only one player good enough to make the Dream Team.
Eben Etzebeth, the only one there. I think in hindsight, you turn around and tell them, I don't want to be in that team.
Exactly.
I mean, that team is just basically a team of coming second. I thought that was the playoffs team.
Well,
not the finals team.
You say second, mate. They didn't even get to the semis.
I know. Just when you look at what was picked there, but I think we can just sit back and laugh at that. I mean, I would have hated that we had 11 blokes in the Dream 15 and we came second.
Yeah. No, precisely.
That we had the World Player of the Year, but we came second. And that we had the Breakthrough Player of the Year, and we came second.
Exactly.
That we had the nicest... You know, I think if there was a prize for best dressed, we would have come second as well. Even for gears.
Yeah, exactly.
For gears.
No.
They would have said, not quite good enough, we're giving it to Argentina. The only prize that mattered there, was the World Cup. And we got that. And talking about their World Cup celebration, I hate politicians jumping on the bandwagon, on the podium. President Cyril Ramaphosa, the way he did that smash and grab. Now, that was the ultimate South African smash and grab. Siya Kolisi know what hit him. The way he pulled and yanked that World Cup trophy out of the Captain Courageous's hands. Come on, Cyril, you will look back on that time. Well, you should look back with an embarrassment. I don't know if you will look back with an embarrassment. So. But... wow, I'm surprised that Siya got it back.
Yeah. Is the one that you got still gold? It feels like plastic. How did he do it?
I'm surprised he got it back.
That thing's been melted
Siya Kolisi looked absolutely bemused. He looked more bemused in that moment than he had for 81 minutes in the day.
You want to be on the stage.
Can we have our trophy back so we can show the world that we just earned the right?
No, politicians are slime, and Cyril came through and just confirmed it again.
And the only thing he should have done was give us our Monday off, as he promised.
Correct, mate. Another broken promise. Who would have thought?
This team, and we spoke about it just at length. And you talk about South Africa, politicians, governments, just the ill every day, the broken promises. And there's just one team that just gives this country so much hope. gives the people belief and hope. And that is the Springboks. And especially this team, and why they, for me, are the greatest Springbok team. And we've had some great Springbok teams, rugby playing teams. They just transcend rugby. I mean, this is the first Springbok team that does speak to a nation, just by way of representation. It's a team that speaks to a nation by way of how they've been transformed. It's a team that you look at it and you just think, that's South Africa there. You don't think that bloke's coloured, he's white, he's English, he's Afrikaans, he's Zulu, he's Xhosa. You just think they're great rugby players.
Spot on.
And that goes down to Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Nienaber. I mean, they deserve everything. I remember Rassie saying to me when he got back, he says, I'm not interested in how many black players have played for South Africa. I want to know how many minutes they've played. Because traditionally, it was 3 minutes at the end, 6 minutes at the end, games lost, stick him on for 20 minutes, 2 winners, and that's about it. Then 2 props. And then his appointment of Siya Kolisi was so inspired, and doing it with such good leadership around him, the Dwayne Vermeulens of the world, the Peter Steph du Toits, and as they said, this guy has just grown the proverbial arm and a leg over the last 5-6 years. The Siya Kolisi that was holding tackle bags in 2015, Heineke Meyer, wow. Compared to the lad who went to 2019 as a boy, came back as a man, and would have aged to be like a grandpa now, but really just such an authority, such a statesperson, and such an ambassador for our nation. Everyone involved in that Springbok setup, just the most incredible ambassadors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we mentioned it in the last show, a special shout out to Bongi for carrying the load for as long as he did in that World Cup. For me, that guy, absolute inspiration. The whole World Cup was literally on his shoulders for a large chunk of it. And however he was involved in helping to prep Dion and get the team going forward. I mean, even after he went off with the injury, again, missing time in the World Cup final, he's cheering on the team, he's shouting advice from the touchlines, just absolute team man. What a leader, what a gent.
But then I look at Jesse Kriel. Wow, patience.
Yeah.
Watching him beam, speaking to Stephen Donald and Jim Hamilton afterwards, and just basically not believing that it's actually happened and that he was on the field and playing an integral part. It wasn't so much 2019 when he got injured early on and Lucanio Am came through and he didn't actually play in that World Cup final. He was in the stands, being a wonderful teammate, looking after all the kids, and just adding to that vibe. I think of the Sonny Ball Williams, Jesse Kriel moment, Twickenham 2015, 2018, end whistle, in front of our posts. Jesse Kriel absolutely distraught. Sonny Ball Williams embracing him, picking him up. And legend has it that he said to him, but for a pass or a kick, you'd be picking me up.
Yeah.
That's how close it was. And when I looked at that final, I get goosebumps as I say that. It could have been that. It could have been Eben Etzebeth on the ground and Scott Barrett picking him up because a kick went over in that last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think we have to keep on going back to that. Yes, we've got the title. Yes, we are the world champions for the next 4 years. If you look on that thing, 2007, South Africa. 2011, New Zealand. 15, New Zealand. 19, South Africa. 23, South Africa. The debate is ended about how great these two rugby nations are. Yeah. And that respect just has to continue going off the field. The margins are so fine, though, between ecstasy, elation, and absolute distraughtness. I don't know if there's such a word, but...
there is now.
There is now. There was a part of me that was just so grateful and happy for South Africa, but also just so kind of admirable for the All Blacks, and you had to feel for them in the sense of what they were going through, and not feeling sorry for them, just feel for them because they had left it all out there. And I keep on saying it, just absolute respect to guys who arrived as imposters and nearly went home as the Invincibles.
Yeah, absolutely. That recovery, mate, something else. I think you also have to you have to recognize, if you win a game by 1 point in a final, people say it could have gone either way, and rightfully so. And maybe you got to that final through a 1 point win. People say, geez, you got lucky twice. But when lightning strikes 3 times in a row, mate.
And you're still playing golf.
And you're still playing golf, mate.
Then you have been enlightened.
Then you have beaten, indeed.
The emotion, just Siya, the singing, the dancing, Rassie, the tears,
yeah.
Jacques showing his personality, the relief on Jacques to finally just basically smile. No, I mean it's like the tribute that Siya paid to Jacques.
Yeah.
Wow, And Eben, the address, telling the boys in the change room, we'll go down as the greatest rugby team ever because of this, because of the way we did it. But that absolute collective,
Bingo.
the strength of that side was not the 23 on it.
Spot on.
It was the 10 that weren't playing. The 2 that came back that were ruled out. And just incredible, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. I'm still on a bit of a buzz. It's Monday morning. It was a weird Sunday night. I had a bit of a carte blanche feeling. It's like I got to go to work on Monday because we've had 9 of the most incredible weeks if we include the build-up, the Twickenham test against the All Blacks, the 52-60 win against Wales in Cardiff. We started doing this poddy, 32 episodes in, 13 million views. Wow, to the people out there, I just want to say on behalf of both of ourselves, and just an incredible thanks. And, you know, we've been in this game long enough. We've been abused, insulted on social media every single day. People get personal. People are angry. People are bitter. What I've loved about this show is you go and look at the comments, 90% of them are geared towards rugby.
It's about rugby.
It's all about rugby, and it's about passionate rugby people, whether they're from Ireland, whether they're from South Africa, New Zealand, Wales, just discussing rugby, discussing players, game plans, game management, coaches. That's been probably one of the greatest rugby writing experiences that I've had, just seeing those comments and just seeing how much passion is out there globally for the game. And more of that and less of this personal attacks on people. And I think at this time also, what poor Sam Cane's going to have to live with for the rest of his life, I think that's punishment enough. But to see some of the abuse that's been hurled at him post the game, people question his credentials, he should never have been there. Mate, he's rolling that boulder up forever. And he said it. He said he's going to look back on that day and be haunted by it forever. And the only thing that would have kind of softened the blow slightly was Geordie Barrett's kick going over or something happening in the last 5 minutes. But only one team can win a World Cup, and that's why when people say it's all about the World Cup and I'm putting all my eggs in that basket, no. It's got to be about just consistently you wanting to be up there and be the best and giving yourself a shot to win the World Cup. And just wow, they're going to come hard in the next 4 years. It's going to mean Rusty's going to raise his game again, and I hope he does stick around. And it's the rivalry is back, man.
The rivalry is back. You know, Rusty, after the last World Cup, and when I say last, I mean 2019, it's tough to keep track of how many World Cups we win these days. But after the 2019 World Cup, he said he wants more consistency. And I don't really feel like we achieved that in the 4 years leading up to this one. If that's the reason we won it, great. But going forward, I would like to see us have a run at Nick's Bok win record, his streak. Let's be dominant. Let's back this up. Let's be a world force going forward. And he's got his hands full with that because there is a transition period coming up in the next years where some big name players are going to step away.
Well, if you look, that's the one thing that did define the mighty Macau's team, the Carter, McCaw era. When they backed it up between 11 and 15, they backed it up with a 90% win record. So that is still something that's untapped for us moving forward. For now, the next 4 days, next 5 days, we're not going to care about that because it's going to be parade time as they take that World Cup.
A week of it, mate.
They take their World Cup on the road.
They just want to get home
to the whole of South Africa and kind of share it with the people of South Africa. Pieter-Steph du Toit, World Player of the Year in 2019, nearly had his leg amputated in 2021, and kind of had shown signs in the last year of getting back to that kind of form. But if you ever talk about a player peaking, reverse engineering it back 4 years, firstly, the biggest tattoo that Richie Munga's going to have is Eben Etzebeth, okay? It's tackle. The second one is Pieter-Steph du Toit and the Barrett brothers.
Jeez.
I think that basically he's going to be on their mantelpiece at home. Pieter-Steph's shoulders, head,
is imprinted.
Hands are imprinted all over their bodies. Jeez. 28 tackles, but 28 dominant tackles.
Mate, at the end there where he shuts to just smash Geordie Barrett, that's a match, that's a World Cup winning tackle. That was an incredible moment. That decision he had to make, he made the call. Bowden plays his boot instead of Damien. And the rest is history, as I say. Incredible effort from Pieter-Steph du Toit. I don't think, defensively, I'm not sure anyone's ever going to top that in a World Cup final.
unless Thierry Desautoir comes back and plays again.
I'm back, boys.
Yeah.
But we thought McCaw's effort in 2011, I think it was 18 tackles, was massive. And that he played with a broken foot in the context of that final against New Zealand. But I did feel, and people say, why analyze the game? It's irrelevant. We've won, move on. 1 point or 30, it doesn't matter. But it has to be analysed because we love rugby and we love talking about rugby, and it's going to be prevalent the next time these teams play each other. But I thought New Zealand would have taken a bit more out of the French performance against us in their approach, and they basically gave us exactly what we thought they would. We just had to have our defence and our line speed had to be there. And from the outset, that first pass that Brody gave to Richie Mo'unga behind the game line, backpedaling, and our big boy Eben just smoking him, kind of set that tone of we're here to defend, and if you're going to score, you're going to have to score from about 90 meters or some up meters. There wasn't the cross kicks, there wasn't the chipping behind our rush defense. There was no Anton Dupont kicking game there.
No.
And they kicked mainly off 10 and didn't kick particularly well. And I thought Richie Mo'unga, by and large, in the semi-final and final, when the big moments came, unfortunately, he did buckle.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think that New Zealand we spoke about it, it's a team built for speed. As much as they tackled their way to that victory against Ireland, I think they knew they didn't have the cattle to stop us in that kind of a game. I don't think they wanted to create a situation where they were defending on their 40 and we were bashing the front door down. They opted to keep ball. We opted to tackle because that's who we are, and we got the win. And I think, as much as I was disappointed for the most part with who I think are world-class players at 9, 10 and 15 for the All Blacks during this World Cup, I think some of that has to be a reflection of what they got from that pack of forwards. I think if we change backlines, if we swap backlines and put our backs behind that pack and vice versa, I think you'd see a Aaron Smith, and I think you would see a Richie Mo'unga, and I think you'd see a Beauden Barrett flourish. So they made the best of a bad situation. They just couldn't live with the power of that Bok team. And even having said that, they lost their captain and came within 1 point of...
And I look at he won Breakthrough Player of the Year, Mark Talia.
Jeez,
he's something special. He breaks tackles, and he makes the yards. And I know Will Jordan's the one getting all the plaudits, but Will Jordan's just a very good finisher.
Very good finisher.
Mark Talia is just a very good rugby player.
Yeah, spot on.
And we saw that again. The Springboks have made a habit of shutting Will Jordan out, denying him some ball, kind of questioning his decision making. He made 13 attacking meters. This is the guy that scored 8 tries in the World Cup, admittedly a lot of them against inferior opposition. But when the big moments came, you looked at 2 winners and you thought, Mark Talia, world class, Will Jordan, athlete.
Yeah. And credit to Cheslin Colby. He rolled up his sleeves and he got stuck in. He manhandled Jordan. So massive credit to Cheslin Colby there. Agree again. I think, we spoke about Will Jordan being a great finisher. He's on the end of a line that's getting dubious ball from that pack of forwards. Talia's a great rugby player. He's a guy who could throw pretty much across the park, and when he got opportunities, he took them. But I think the sort of substandard effort that we saw from Will Jordan, or the output that we saw from Jordan and those creative players, I think has definitely got more to do with the pack of forwards and the quality of those players.
Looking at the game, okay, we're going to look at the Bok 23 that kind of fronted and did the business. I mean, Dwayne Vermeulen, they said they had 5 matches in him 2 seasons ago. There was that one run, it looked like he caught the ball in Belleville, and he was taking off for Boston in the States. Okay? And I'm talking about Belleville in the northern suburbs of Cape Town. And it was like this rugby league mentality, and he just smashed into that black wall. And
I thought he was going to stop for water along the way. It was such a long run.
I thought that he was going to stop on his way to the Eiffel Tower. He's going to go right through. I mean, just the mongrel, the desire, the heart. I mean, and again, anyone who tells me, who wants to speak about age, whether a kid is 18 or 38 is irrelevant. How good is that player?
Yeah.
And I think what this World Cup has done, what the last one did as well, it's dispelled the notion that a player is too old. Why do we retire players because they're 36 and we want to pick a 23-year-old who's inferior? I always say we saw that in cricket. We retired Jacques Kallis by public opinion. Incredibly, he probably had 4 more years left in him if he wanted it. And we didn't have 2 players to replace him with. Now you look at what Dwayne's done, how he was managed. The dream that Dion Fourie can go away for 8 years, come back, play for the Stormers, play in the right system, and his versatility gets acknowledged. Eskom can go to Leicester, basically be retired because of concussion, come back to the Bulls, and Marco van Staden's there. Jesse Creel, just patience. Touted in 2014 as the next big thing. His moment came in 2023. These are all inspiring stories out there.
Massive.
You know, Sonny Ball Williams put out a tweet, and he's kind of, immediately people attacked him when he said, as gutted as he is for the brothers, the All Black brothers, there's not a bigger thing than seeing Kolisi hold that World Cup, because of what it means to South Africa and what it means to the people in South Africa, and especially those on the poverty line.
Yeah.
And someone's like, how does winning a World Cup help poverty? And his response was, he grew up in a council house. His mom had to drop out of school at 13. He just wanted a house that had wallpaper. And that was his goal, to ultimately play a sport that could give him money to do that. And his message was that Siya Kolisi inspires those kids to want to become Springboks, to want to become better human beings, to want to get out of the circumstances they're in. And those moments, those Hollywood stories, give people hope. So for anyone who couldn't see that as well, geez,
Yeah,
I know
well,
exactly
that
what
answers
he's
the question,
saying.
doesn't it? Right? So when you have to ask, well, how does it inspire people? That answers the question. That is why it means more to South Africans.
Let's look at that box setup again. I mean, Francie Malherbe, he's a piano mover and he's a piano player.
Wow.
I mean, he must have been lighting up after that game, cigars and all, brandy and coke and smokes. Jeez, just definitive that nothing changes, that your tight head has to know how to scrum.
Big time.
He also has to understand how to scrum. He has to understand the names of the game, know how to tackle, and he doesn't have to be 93 kilograms and look like he plays in the midfield.
But also, I mean, that oak at 135 or whatever he is was getting round the field. He wasn't just scrumming. I mean, that guy's output at his size is incredible.
And then Trevor coming off the bench, a Bongi, wow, I just felt for him. Steven Kitsoff, he really put in a shift. Ox coming on. We spoke about Sos and that engine that he has. And then the Viking and his mate, the mighty monster duo, Jean Klein and Ergier Snyman.
How big is Snyman? Like, every time I see him, I think, no, this can't be real. Surely.
I mean, when you get Eben and Jean Klein looking up to him. But just, wow, Jean Klein's story, incredible as well. And, the thing about this Boks team is they're just so likable. They're wonderful ambassadors, but you see these players get interviewed and you see them talking with such humility and such joy. They're just a likable bunch. The coaching staff are likable bunches. Their captain is so inspirational. And then you just get into the rest of the mob. Everyone did their bit. You know, Jasper Visser was 3 years, he's been touted. He's the guy, willing to sit on the bench, sit in the stands, help out. Faf, just how he managed that last 2-3 minutes. Backed himself, backed his experience. The fact that Williams wasn't playing, Kobus Reinach wasn't playing, they didn't care. They were just there.
Absolutely.
They're supporting. Mani Lebok, big maturity to say,
Big time.
I'm out of this. I've been here the whole tournament, but I'm out of here because I understand the dynamics. And then our man, Willie Leroux. Willie came through.
Billy came through.
Because everyone said Willie may be the one that gives away something in the end. But he came through. He kind of put us into some very good field positions. And that was, we played some great territory. And then the guy we always tout, Damien Diolandi.
Jeez.
I mean, that guy can play.
The mover.
And the wonderful picture of him also chatting to Sam Whitelock's kids.
Yes, how glorious was that?
The respect between these two teams. I watched the video of in the All Black sheds afterwards. And, I mean, they were gutted. But there was no bitching and moaning. I thought Ian Foster showed huge integrity. And Sam Kane, just huge balls, man. To sit there and just front it and take it. And I think every Kiwi, as hollow as it may sound today, just has to be proud of that team.
No, that team did them proud.
And you said this on Friday. If the Boks somehow don't win this thing, we're going to be proud of this team when they land.
On.
There's going to be a hero's welcome for them for what they've been through. To go there and win it by a point and take out the host, take out the old foe, England by a point in terrible conditions, and then take out our greatest rivals by a point.
And then for the All Blacks, smashed at home by Ireland, smashed by France in the opener, having been rolled by the Boks at Twickenham, to turn that into a 1-point loss in the final. you can't be disappointed in your team. It's impossible.
No, you would say that they exceeded expectations.
Absolutely.
They exceeded expectations, and where we kind of lived up to the expectations of what we wanted to do.
Spot on.
So, I mean, the Boks, you've just got to just bow to them and congratulate them, and to Rassie Rasmussen, Jacques Nienhaber, and their support staff, the coaches that they've had in, the changes that they made as well to refreshen the kind of coaching structure. Sticks, what he's done, Dion Davids and Don Heeman. I mean, Matt Proudfoot got a lot of praise for 2019. Don Heeman came in and really improved that pack in a very different way. Felix, the physios, the doctors, the media, whoever.
Everybody,
everyone there just wow. And
you spoke about the Boks being such likable characters. I think it's because Rassie places such a massive premium on humility. Like it's a non-negotiable in the game. Nobody can get too big for their boots, and I think it just keeps everybody on the level in the Springbok camp. I think among the players there can't be egos, there can't be holding. There's just no space for it. Rassie just won't allow it.
Well, I mean, again, Faf de Klerk, when he was doing his interview and they congratulated him, and he said, it's just great to play with these guys. He said, we're not necessarily the best players, but we're the right players.
Wow.
And that's what Rassie has said all along, that the media will have a debate. We've had that debate.
Spot on.
Why is a certain player not in that setup? And he's never disputed that player is not necessarily a better rugby player. He has said he's not necessarily the right player for this team.
Yeah.
But he's done it in a way that he's shown maturity, and he's backed those right players and kind of put them together. And it's like in any boardroom, if you get the right people at the table, you connect the dots very quickly. You just need one wrong person there, and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The right people on the bus, it leaves straight away. One wrong person, it never leaves the station.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope I haven't missed someone's name, and then if I have, it's just, it's obviously... the euphoria and the
Vincent Koch, Kane Moody,
the delirious euphoria that I'm feeling. Well, we mentioned them all on Friday as well.
Yeah.
We said that whole squad, the contribution that they all made. The 31 that started, the 2 that went home, the 2 that came back.
Spot on.
And again, 2007, 2 players left the squad and 2 came back. So there are a lot of similarities there between 2007 and 2023. It's a very different Springbok team now.
Yeah.
And it's one... 2007 was one that wanted to speak to a nation. This one is one that definitely speaks to a nation. It's going to be just great celebrations over the next 4 years. The days of being world champions just keeps on getting more and
rolling
more.
on.
As someone said, I read someone who tongue in cheek said, was Nas would say tongue in the cheek, who said, we hope that you fix the problems in your country before 2027 and give someone else a chance to win the one. Because the fact that we have such huge problems in our country means the only way we can kind of find that hope and get by it is to keep on winning World Cups.
Correct.
So I've got us to really live this World Cup euphoria, to live it with absolute humility, to continue to be those likable oaks out there. A good succession plan under Rassie. I hope he stays till 2027 at least. Probably find Dion and Sticks take on a greater role. Jacques not going to be easily replaced.
Or easily beaten. When these guys come up against Jacques' team in the URC, all bets are off.
Yeah, no, look, it's just great to love Springbok rugby. It's great to have just experienced this Bok team at the World Cup. This World Cup should have been held in South Africa. I was fortunate to work on that World Cup bid in terms of helping with the narrative. And we should have been hosting it. And in some weird way, it felt like we were hosting it. We were hosting it from our couch. We're hosting it from the pubs, from the shebeens, from restaurants.
Spot on.
From braais. This nation lived the Boks, and they lived them especially they lived that island game, and they lived them in the last 3 weeks in the most dramatic fashion at the most unlikely hour, 2100 in the evening. What were people having to do after midnight? My goodness, how do I go to sleep? At 1:30 on Sunday morning, I'd finished a piece for the Sunday Times that I had to put in on final whistle, that column. The only thing I updated was Peter Steff to Toy's tackle count. 14, 21, 26, 28. I'm like, this whole piece is written, ready to go. They can't get a penalty in this last. How do I do this in the next 3 minutes?
The whole thing.
The whole thing, because the that column would have been rendered redundant if New Zealand had scored in the last minute. And I was like, please, just get that ball in.
Bonzi!
Win it back. And Bonzi, do us your thing. Show us that you're wearing more green than black. Bonzi, 111 tests. We said there would be cards.
Yes, we did.
There were cards. What did you think of his performance?
I thought that, so I think some of the laws are ridiculous. We've spoken about that. I thought in the context of the laws that he has to officiate in, I thought Bonzi did a great job. When the TMO let him, do his job, I thought he did a great job.
I don't think anyone can complain about the officiating. I don't think we can complain about any of the officiating we've had in the quarterfinal, semi-final, or final.
Nope.
Like you say, mistakes were made in all those matches, but not just towards us. There was certainly no heightened view of they're out to get us. And I think we also need to understand that they're not out to get us. You play well enough, you take the referee out the game.
Yeah.
And the Boks played well enough, and they played well enough without the ball. And the big key there is we played in the right areas.
Spot on.
And if you're 75 meters away from our line, we can still infringe.
Yeah.
And for the most, we didn't. New Zealand kept us scoreless in the second half and for the last quarter. The definitive statistic is that we had 76% territory in the last 8-9 minutes of that game. We were in the right side of the field. You look at that New Zealand side, interesting piece I read over the weekend. In their three big games against Ireland, against South Africa, and against France, they scored a collective of 3 points in the last quarter of those. So in those 60 minutes, they scored 3 points.
Wow.
And New Zealand traditionally used to be a team. The last 20
closes out.
They close out a game.
Yeah.
If they were 12 all or 15 all, they beating you by 30 points.
Yeah.
And this team that's something they're going to work on. They were 25-6 up at Twickenham. 9 minutes to play. It ended up 25 all. They've struggled in the last quarter of games, and I think that could be down to limitations in their pack, not having the greatest 23 just yet.
Spot on.
But just having a very, very proud 15 and a proud 23 in terms of individuals, but not that power pack. The Boks, Dwayne, did we get another year out of him?
No. But Dion Free could go to the next World Cup.
Maybe Dwayne should just go to Durban for 2 years, kind of relax a bit, come back at 41.
Miss a game.
Yeah.
Just
Zels, wonderful to see Roger Federer in the Boks change room afterwards. I mean, a huge ambassador of South Africa. He's a South African citizen. I think he has dual citizenship because of his mom. He's also a great tennis player. Tom Brady in love with the Springboks as well. See those kind of global icons who resonate with the Springboks because they resonate with the qualities of that team.
Yeah. I mean, Novak was in the crowd. I saw Drickus.
I think Novak may have been wearing a black jersey though.
No, he was in a Boks jersey.
Was he in a Boks jersey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic seeing everybody there. Everybody turned up for the big event, and great to see that rugby is drawing that kind of crowd. That's exactly what the sport needs.
Oku wasn't in a Boks jersey. The big guy, Jason.
Yeah, he was supporting the All Blacks.
Always, but he did tip his hat.
He did.
To Drickus and kind of acknowledge.
All he knew what would happen, mate.
Exactly. Yeah, this is an Hollywood, mate. But, I mean, how did you feel, bud?
Mate, it was just freaking glorious, eh? How lovely is it to be world champions again? And the way that they did it, this team, you could argue that maybe, we should have stayed on the highways and taken the smooth road. And there would be something nice about that, I suppose, if the Boks had walked through this World Cup and just dominated everybody and won it. But the way that these guys did it, it was like something out of a Hollywood script. I mean, it couldn't have been more dramatic. And such a great story about each and every oak. Like I say, I can't remember a time in Springbok history where I've had absolute admiration for every single one of the players. There's always an oak you think, geez, what is this oak doing there? Or this oak's attitude. Or these guys, just absolutely phenomenal how they put themselves after the team. It was all about this team effort, the way that these guys solve problems on the field in the biggest stage under the brightest lights, the composure, the belief, the trust in each other, just incredible. And
one of the biggest things to learn from this World Cup, you can still survive without the best hook in the world, but you can't survive without a goal kicker.
Exactly.
Richie Mo'unga,
yeah,
traditionally kicks at 75%. For the All Blacks, in semi-final and final, he kicked at 59 or 60%. Andre Pollard, 13 from 13. He didn't miss a kick. add to the ones he didn't miss in that final against England as well.
Although,
guy
mate,
was
the
on
way
a
that
roll.
game started, when he shaved the uprights, I was like, oh my goodness.
When it
here we
went
go.
in off that upright, I just knew it's happy
You're okay.
days, okay? Had that one just gone to the left, I'd have thought, oh. As Harry Kutsia said, for those who may know boxing, when he won the world title and he knocked out Michael Burbick, I think it was, Trevor Burbick, and he got hit early on his nose, and they interviewed him, and he was still holding his dog, a little dog called Wendy. And then they said, Jerry Kutz here. He was like white hope for like the white American heavyweight champ because he was training over there. And he said, when he hit me on the nose and I saw the white stuff, I thought, oh.
What a way with words.
Yeah, what a way with it. Just this gentle giant, the Boksburg bomber, just holding this little dog there and just saying the words, oh. But there wasn't a moment, I must say, in that game that I thought, oh.
No.
Because even if Barrett's kick had gone over, there was still 7 minutes to play. And I always felt that there was something about our defensive presence that gave us the momentum in the game. I just never thought that we were under the pump from the All Blacks.
No, I agree with that. And there was never a moment in that game where, like you said, it felt like it was getting out of control. It always seemed like the Boks had their hand on the steering wheel. And, in a way, we didn't utilize our destroyer bench as much as we could have. So we always felt like we had something left in the tank there. Even if they had scored, we were like, okay, well, we just have to do this, this, and this. We'll be back in it.
Yeah, I mean, our substitutions were very much integrated to manage the 80 minutes as opposed to come on and change
Spot
the course
on.
of those 80 minutes.
Mate, we haven't mentioned the Oki just freaking quickly forced 3 turnovers. Crucial
Smith.
ones.
I was waiting for you to mention him, mate.
Mate, how good was he?
How good has he been?
Oh, mate.
And again, when you look at how they've evolved this Boks team, because in the beginning you would ask, where does he fit into the kind of style of loose forward that they pick?
Yeah.
There was a big clamour for Jean-Luc Depree, for Marcel Kutsia, Evan Roos to come into the fray. Where's Ulrich Lowe? Why is he not there? There's Kwagga Smith, eh? That guy has presence, eh?
Jeez.
Athleticism, can play anywhere basically. Good on the ground, but fantastic in the tackle, in the air. One big turnover, one big rip, eh? But also just brings energy and buzz.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're going to be a team that's going to play defense, having a ball hawk like that who can just flip it anytime he wants it, basically, just a massive asset to this pack. You've got Ergier Snyman up front with Eben setting fire to villages, and the Soaks just reaping the rewards. He's out there just attacking the ball.
I just want to say to Scott Gibbs, I'm going to remind him, Wales against South Africa, Bloemfontein. We spoke about Kwagga Smith's selection, and the year before that also Kwagga being in the mix against the British Irish Lions. And I questioned that, where does this guy slot in? And Scotty said, he's a great rugby player. And Scotty, thanks. He's shown me, he's shown the world just how good he is, and you spotted him way earlier than either myself or Zels did. What happens this week, bro? I'm going to say China, brew, but, and mates
Get them
again.
all in.
Okay. What happens this week? We refocus on?
These boys are going to celebrate this win. We'll celebrate with them for a week, and then it's time to turn our gaze towards the United Rugby Championship.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. All of you chatting to us, following us, kind of interacting with us. 32 episodes around the World Cup. We're not going away. We're going to be around once, twice a week with the URC up until the end of May. And then we're going to be around talking Springboks. Because guess who's coming next year? Ireland for 3 test matches.
With all those guys from the Dream Team.
Ireland's dream team is coming. And it may just prompt Johnny Sexton to say, I'll have one last go at these boys. But for now, it's not about Ireland. It's about the Springboks. It's about the world champions. It's about celebration. It would be a miss of me not to finish our World Cup special by asking the Rickster for one final roar.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. It was great to meet you, to get to know you, and to speak some rugby with you, man. And I look forward to doing more of this in the United Rugby Championship, so tune in, okay? Okay.